What is up, fam? Hey, this is PC. Welcome back to the Kids These Days podcast series. This is episode 3. Again, for those of you that may be just tuning in for the first time, the whole purpose, the premise behind Kids These Days is to shine the spotlight on student leaders because there's so many amazing young people out there that are doing just incredible things. And a lot of times, teenagers, for whatever reason, get a bad reputation, kids these days, when the truth is, and I get to see it because of my job, there's so many incredible young people all around the globe. And so just shining a spotlight on them and giving them the chance to showcase the amazing people that they are and the amazing people that they're becoming as well. And so super stoked today. We have as our guest, Ava Yono. Ava is a senior, class of 2026 at Lance Cruz High School North, about an hour north of Detroit, Michigan. Ava, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I am doing awesome. It is so great to see you. I had the chance to work with you here just a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the event there in your beautiful Performing Arts Center. And you were on the panel, and everybody on the panel was amazing. But you just stood out to me so much. And so I talked to you afterwards. I was like, I've got to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for making the time to be on the show today.
Of course, I know I'm really excited.
We're excited to have you. So, for people that don't know you yet, Ava, how about a little bit of a background? And who are you, and how did you get to this point in your life so far?
You already announced it. I'm a senior at Lance Cruz North. I'm involved in student council at our school, NHS, and crew, DECA. I honestly started joining those clubs about, I'd say sophomore, some of them junior year. And I was new to the school when coming in. I was new to the district. I transferred schools. Getting involved was a little scary to me at first, but I'm so happy that I ended up breaking out of my shell a little bit and joining these clubs because I feel like it really helped me become the person I am today.
Absolutely. And you're just absolutely crushing it. Like, it took me about 10 seconds of listening to you talk to, like, all right, this kid gets it, right? And so I would love to hear more. You talked about you moved into your high school as a new student. What year was that?
That would have been my freshman year, so 2022.
Okay. So talk a little bit about that. Looking back on it now, that's scary for anybody, whether you're a student, whether you're a quote unquote adult, right? Anytime that you have to do something new, looking back on it now, what helped with that transition? And if you could do anything different for a student that transfers in now, what would you do better?
So I think what really helped was something that my school does called it's like a freshman orientation. We call it Crusader Day. And going into it, it was like a week or two before school started. It's kind of like you go there, meet other freshmen, you play games and get put into groups with people you don't know. So that immediately helped me like break out of my shell a little bit because I realized like, okay, these people in the group that I was partnered up with, they don't even know each other. So maybe they would just assume like that I'm from the other middle school or I don't look that much of an outsider. And then one of my first days of school, I started talking to this like a couple people in my class and I just kind of they weren't rude or anything, but I just felt uncomfortable. Like, okay, they probably think I'm like weird trying to engage with them and they don't know me. So I kind of like stood off to the side, stayed quiet, and I had a lot of, I guess, issues with like my computer because everyone from middle school, like they knew how to log into their accounts, all of that stuff. I didn't. So I would always go up to my teachers and ask for help. And my one teacher specifically was like, get involved. She's like, "You there's something about you, like, I can see it already, like, you should get involved." And I was really hesitant. I was like, "No, I don't know. I don't really know anyone." So I think the hardest part was just kind of like meeting everyone and adjusting to everyone and realizing that like you fit in no matter where you go. It was just kind of a matter of like getting yourself out there and finding people that resonate with you.
And so true, everything that you're saying there. And you do have such a magnetic personality. Like, I can totally just see that teacher saying, like, you getting involved. Like, you need to be the person that's out there and doing all these things. And so you've been very active with leadership at your school. What made you want to get involved specifically with student council and with leadership activities?
It was kind of I seen, like, some of the events that they put on, and one of the things specifically was our charity week. We would have a charity week assembly, we would have for homecoming or pep assemblies that we did, and I just seen how many students, like, were in the background and how many people got to help out with that, how, like, they basically ran it, they planned everything, and it was little, like, things like that I had so many ideas for, I just never knew how to get my idea out there or, like, who to talk to be like, "I think we should do this. I think the students would love that." So it was like eventually, like once I like just decided, okay, I'm gonna go tell the Stuco teacher that I think this would be a great idea was when and then they did it, like they implemented little things that I said or at least tried to. That's when I realized like it's not as scary as I'd expect, and I ran to join those specific clubs.
That's so cool, and I love what you said there too about once they did it, once they executed, right, on one of your ideas, because that's how the ball gets rolling. That's how you get a voice, and once you get a voice or once you give somebody else a voice, then they wanna come back with more ideas, right? And so I think a big part of leadership is learning how to empower other people and putting other people in a position to be successful. I would love to hear from your perspective, what makes somebody a good leader? What are the qualities, what are the characteristics of good leadership?
One of in my opinion, I feel like anyone can be a leader. Everyone leads in a different way. Even the quiet kids who don't necessarily do much or aren't involved, every single person is a leader. And I feel like one of the biggest things is just kind of being there for other people and just doing what makes you happy. I think people look up to you for doing what you like to do rather than just saying, like, "Oh, this person does this, like, they're a leader." I think it's those little things, like, you see the kids who don't really talk in class, but there's other people who have similar interests with them that look up to them just because they still continue to do what they enjoy, they work hard. So I feel like just being yourself is truly what makes somebody a leader.
That's a great answer, Ava. Yeah, you said so much right there. Just being yourself, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be the loud, rah-rah person all the time. You can be the quiet person and still lead, right? Everybody has a platform. The question is, how are you using that platform? You also, we were talking before we went live on air here that you're a member of the softball team, which I love. It talks to my baseball heart. You play shortstop and center field. And I would love to hear from your perspective, how has being an athlete helped with your evolution as a leader?
It's kind of something on the field and off the field that really matters. Like when you're in the dugout for me softball, you're cheering on your other like teammates, and even on the field, you're out there calling plays and making sure that like your voice is heard when it comes to a team, because at the end of the day, to make some like a game successful or to have a successful team win or lose, you guys just have to work together and be a team. So some of the things that like I've learned from softball that has helped me become a better leader is just kind of working together as a team. And that's just, it's the collaborative factor. Like, you understand that you need to kind of work with other people to make things successful. And that's even helped me now with school and being involved with all of these clubs, that you can't do everything alone. You have to have people that help you.
That's so true, and it's a big part of life, right? And there's so many different personalities and so many different characteristics that you're gonna have to learn how to work with, how to deal with. And so I think that's such a spot on answer there from, you take that from the team perspective, and how is that gonna correlate one day into the quote unquote real world, the working world, right? And just being able to transfer that over. Let's talk about a typical day. You talked about how you're active in, I know you said DECA and student council and NHS and softball, and you also have a job. There's a lot of teachers that listen to this, a lot of administrators that listen to this. There's a lot of Jostens reps that listen to this, and obviously, like the older you get, the easier it is to get out of touch with teenagers and what's going on in your world. What is a typical day like, if there is such a thing? What's a typical day like for you from start to finish?
I mean, it definitely varies because I am involved with so many different things. So there's different meetings on some days, whatever. But typical day is go to school. I'm only there from first to fourth hour just because of the way my schedule worked out with some dual enrollment classes. But typically, I go to school. I'll come home and I just do my homework, try to get it done as much as I can, because normally later in the days I'll have to do things for the clubs, like make social media posts or attend meetings even if they're on call, because not all of us can make it. We kind of we have our meetings either before school or after school typically. So in that little hour block I get home from school, I try to get my work done as most as I can. After all of that's done, I go to the gym later at night, come home, probably do more homework and go to bed, and just it all kind of repeats.
over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
But those are such long days, and I know, my son is a sophomore and kind of similar. He's involved in so many different things, and it's just kind of like, all right, buddy, you're gonna have to write this down for me because I can't keep it all straight in my head. So I don't know how you guys do it because for me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like losing my mind, right? Let's talk, Ava, about Renaissance now. And you guys do a lot of Jocelyn's Renaissance activities on your campus. How did you get involved with Renaissance, and what is the impact that it's made on your school so far?
So originally we had this club at our school. It was called Link Crew. And it was something that you had to apply for, and it was only juniors and seniors. But my sophomore year, I got like the advisors reached out to me and five other students who were sophomores at the time and was like, we want to start prepping six kids to apply for the next year. So they kind of have guidance for the new students who are going to apply. And I was one of those six students that got like picked to kind of work with Link Crew. And that was like our freshman orientation group. And then it was my junior year, I'd say they switched it over to Ren Crew, which is where Jocelyn's Renaissance came into effect big time with our school. So I kind of was already, I'd say, in the club, but they just switched it around. And then last my junior year, end of the year, my former principal, she called me into her office and she was like, "Do you want to go to California?" And I was like, "Yeah, but for what?" And she explained like what JRGC was, and she invited me and three other students to Justin's like the global conference, and that itself kind of helped our school flourish. Like once I know they brought kids there the previous years, but they didn't really know what to do with it. They took in that information that they learned there, and that was it. But it wasn't until I feel like our group that went, we actually started implementing some of the skills that we learned at Jostens into our school.
That's awesome. And when you go to that conference for the first time, like it's a game changer, like it's a life changer. I always tell people like it literally changed my life when I went for the first time. And so I would love to hear that then from your perspective. Registration for our conference for this coming summer, which is June the 14th through the 16th in Orlando, just opened. And registrations are going great so far. For somebody that's listening to this and maybe they've never been to the conference before, or they're just debating, like, maybe I should try it out, but I'm not really sure, why should somebody go to JRGC, your opinion?
I There's only one thing that I always say when someone asks like what I thought about it. It's life changing. I thought going to it is just going to be another leadership conference, and when I was there, like my perspective on everything changed. Like you get to learn about teachers' point of views on students. You get to learn about the students who've had troubled backgrounds and how they view school and why they view things differently than most of the other your typical leaders. You get to meet so many people from all over the country, which was my favorite part. I'm a big talker. I love meeting people. So that itself was, I love that. And it also gave me a chance to even explore California itself because obviously ours was in California. So that's a dream place for me. I got to not only learn so much about leadership and just get my perspective changed on the way everyone else thinks of leadership or students, teachers, like academics. I also got a chance to go explore part of our country that I've died to go to California for the longest time.
Yes, and it doesn't get much more beautiful than San Diego, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
cool. So cool. So let's talk then about, you talked about going to the conference and you get all these ideas. You guys do so many incredible things. Let's start first with student recognition ideas, activities that you do on your campus. How about two or three of your favorite ones that really stand out for students?
So one of my favorites is something that we have called crew cards. Everything's kind of like crew crusader because that's what our mascot is, but they're called crew cards, and every quarter they get passed out, and it's based off of your GPA, clubs you're in, attendance, stuff like that. So the better grades you get, the better attendance, stuff like that, you get specific points, and there's different rankings of cards. And those students, every student gets a card, whether they didn't necessarily meet the requirements or not. And there's little different incentives on them. Like the gold card is the best one you can get. They have things like you get 50% off restaurants, you get free smoothies, you get to leave class early. They have little incentives on them. So that itself recognizes those students that put in the work and even students who are trying to better themselves academically. We also do something like student of the month. That basically, like, are admin pics, and then you get a picture hung up on the wall, and then you get little, like, treat goodie bags, stuff like that.
Yeah, cool stuff. That's yeah, I love that, and especially with the card and how everybody has the opportunity to get one. So it's not just exclusive to just like the high achieving, academic kids. So I love that. Let's switch over now to your staff, and you know how important it is for your staff to be on board and to be uplifted, and we have to pour into those educators. What are a couple of cool things that you guys do for staff recognition at your school?
One of my favorites is Faculty of the Month, but it's not something that like admin picks. It's us students. So it's through our club NHS. They pretty much run the Google Forms for it. And they ask, like, it's open to all staff, not just teachers. So it could be anyone in the building. And you kind of just say which teacher or staff member you think should win Faculty of the Month. And then you write why. And at the end of the month, they tally it up. And our NHS has like a committee and they go and they make a really big poster that says Faculty of the Month. And we, during our 6 hour, they'll like announce it, like our Faculty of the Month winner is. And then they'll say the teacher, and then students get to break in their classroom with speakers, music, and they kind of give them the big poster. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite things. I love it. And then we also do something called Tireless Teacher. That's a monthly thing. I don't know exactly how that one gets picked, but it's just like a big tire that's and it has Tireless Teacher on it, and then that teacher gets appointed Tireless Teacher for the month, and they get a big tire in their classroom, and it switches every month as well.
Yeah, creating that fun, right? Creating that energy because the adults need that too, just as much as the kids do, because when that trickles down into the classrooms, into instruction, into all of those things. So I love both of those ideas. Ava, this was something I asked you about when we were on the panel here at our event here a couple of weeks ago. And I thought you just gave such a great answer. And I would just love to hear, something similar along those lines. We were talking about social media. And, there's some people love social media, some people hate social media. Like there's pros and cons to it, right? But from your perspective, one, what platforms do you use like on a regular basis? And then two, what are the stresses? What are the pressures that come with social media from a teenager's perspective?
I use the basic three. I feel like every teenager uses TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. Like, without those three, I feel like I would be so out of loop, and that's such a big problem with today's world is the fact that if you don't have social media, you feel out of place and out of touch, and that's one of the things that I've always, I guess, disliked about it because I'm a typical teenager. I'm on my phone hours a day. My screen time is unreal sometimes, but it gets to the point where when I was in 8th grade, like, my parents didn't want me having Snapchat because they're like, "I'm worried for your safety," little things like that, and all of my friends had it, and I just felt very, like, out of place and out of touch, and as I ended up getting the app once I got to 9th grade, and that's when I realized most of the problems that have occurred with, like, drama in school or even issues where students were getting, like, suspended, expelled happened on social media because everything was getting you can screenshot things, you could Photoshop things, you can post things and make someone look bad without context. It really was just it ruins teenagers as a society because you never know what you can believe and what you can't. And that's the one thing that, like, despite the entertainment purposes, despite how it helps you connect with other people, there's so many dangers to it as well that it even scares me sometimes, like what I can say and what I can't say over social media.
It's wild. It really is. It's to the point to where almost everything that I see I watch it and then I'm like, "Is that real?" And it's just because you just don't know because with AI, like you said, like, it's so easy to create videos and to create, you can make somebody talking with their own words, but make it say what you want it to say, and then it circulates just like rapid fire, right? Ava, I would love to hear from you too about balance, right? It's hard to be a teenager. There's so much pressure, there's so much stress to be involved in every club and every extracurricular, and you're doing these sports so that you can get these scholarships to get into these dream schools. How do you personally find balance with everything?
I really just have to not procrastinate. I'm Teachers even know me sometimes to be a procrastinator. I thrive off of that last minute stress sometimes, so that itself kind of pushes me even more. But the biggest things I do to balance is just trying to plan everything out. And I don't let school mess with my social life or social life get in the way of school because I value my academics. I value the positions I have in my club. So I wouldn't want to ruin that. But I also value things like my family, my friends, and things outside of school. So once you kind of find out how to balance it all, like that's why I try to do my homework right when I get home from school. I do all of my school stuff right away. So then the rest of the night, I'm able to do little things that I enjoy. And I'm able to kind of balance everything all at once rather than procrastinating and trying to say, well, I can't go out today because I have all this homework, or I'll just rather get an F on an assignment because I went out. I just, as long as you learn to kind of, you set a little, I guess, calendar, a little to-do list and work around it. I mean, that's all that works for me normally.
Making a list and yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to stay on top of it. Like I said, because there's a million things that you're doing, which is so impressive that you're able to do it at such a high level that you do. And so we talked about you're a senior. And so we're, 4, 5 ish months away from graduation, class of 2026. What's next? What's in the future for Ava?
I'm still kind of deciding what college I want to go to. I'm between like three of the bigger ones: University of Michigan, Michigan State, or Wayne State. If I get into Michigan, that'll definitely be where I'm going, but it's very selective. No matter where I go, I plan on studying neuroscience. I want to become an anesthesiologist. So I do know that it's just a matter of where I'm gonna go.
Yeah, and it'll all work out. And I hope it works out for you at Michigan. If you remember John Rowe, who was Dr. Dredd in the rally last year.
Yes.
Okay, so he's a huge, like, diehard Michigan fan, and his son is like very active with like all their NIL deals and all that kind of good stuff, whatever. So, actually got to go to a Michigan Penn State football game at the Big House a couple of years ago, and it was awesome. Taking nothing away from the other universities because they're great schools too. But yeah, I hope that works out for you. Ava, last thing I want to close out with, we always close this Kids These Days podcast with Heart a Teacher. And so it's just your opportunity to give a shout out to an educator or multiple educators, if you'd like to, that have made an impact on your educational career.
So my first one, I'll do 3 because it's so hard to pick. I've made so many connections with teachers, but, Dr. Beard, she was our former principal. She was the one who actually invited me to JRGC, and we just always had this little bond, and to this day, even though she's not physically at our school, I know I can go to her for everything. I love her so much. She does so much for me and does so much for the student body. Even now that she's not our principal, she still attends all of these events with us. She actually was on the panel too. And then Miss Kamaj and Miss Wilson, those are two of our student council advisors. And Miss Kamaj is also my counselor. Like I said, I can go to them for everything. They're always there for me. And they kind of just know what's best for me. So any little like inconvenience in my life, I tend to go to them, rant to them midday. I have a special bond with them that I'll forever cherish.
That's awesome. And I know it's going to touch their hearts when they hear that as well. Ava, I can't thank you enough for making the time. You are an absolute rock star student leader. Like I said, it took me about 10 seconds of listening to you talk on that panel. And I was like, we've got to connect. I've got to have you on the podcast because you just get it. And good luck this year with softball season. Congratulations on graduating. I know that you're going to be successful no matter what it is that you do in your life moving forward. And again, just want to say thank you so much for making the time to be on the show here today.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited.